Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Joined by my good fiends, the real maggot and rotting to bile.
Hello.
For another episode of Ghouly Gentlemen Horror Month. Hi everybody, we are on our final episode of horror reviews for Geeky Gentlemen Horror Month. The voice. So we're wrapping up here for this year's installment of Horror Month, and I got a request to talk about something from Crypt TV, or talk about Crypt TV, the YouTube channel in general, or just something from someone on Twitter, and it sounded like a fun thing, so just kind of sorry it took so long to get to. But this is a channel I'd never heard of. Had either of you guys?
Nope, never heard of it. No.
Okay. So I find Crypt TV kind of an interesting premise. It's like a just internet-only television channel, basically, that just broadcasts nothing but horror. Just does uploads of short horror films and has some of their own original series. And so I looked around, and it seemed that their most popular series was The Look-See, the Look-See monster series, and I was like, all right, let's give it a watch and see what we think. So
let's give it a look-see, shall we? Hey, it's wordplay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was just curious to see what this would be and what the channel would be like. So I don't know. Where do we want to start on this? Does anyone want to give a hot take or any kind of deep thoughts or just general thoughts on the piece?
Let's see. Sure, I'll go. I watched the first two seasons, which are 5 and 4 episodes. I liked it quite a bit, actually. I liked the title Creature. I really enjoyed the puzzle workings of the plot for season 1, because it required me to kind of watch it twice to kind of put it all together, which was I thought was interesting. The second one was a more linear storyline. Which was easier to follow, especially since you kind of got an idea of what the creature was and what it's supposed to be about. So that kind of helped play it along with what was going on for that airing. I really did kind of like I said, I like the design of the creature. I don't know if I want to. I guess I can compare it to David Lynch's Twin Peaks Season 3, with this horrific creature randomly appearing, and then we have this story that's kind of told as a puzzle, and we're not given all the pieces. And what's interesting is it's told it's non-linear at all. You kind of have to put it together, and there's a supercut video which puts it in order for you, and the episodes aren't in the same order. It's I think episode 1 is third or something like that. And the last 2 episodes are 5 and 3, I think. So yeah, I really dug it.
Okay. I'll kind of be honest and say I didn't get it. I watched this and I was impressed by certain things, and I certainly appreciated certain things on one level, but I didn't get it, and I don't necessarily think that's a problem, but I think it's just kind of a symptom of what they're trying to do as storytellers and filmmakers with this, which is this is built for the internet. You know, like if you watch the videos, there are episodes that end with what will happen next and stuff like that. And like, you know, what do you think will happen next? Like, it's specifically the call to action kind of YouTube formula. This is built for the internet. This is built for fan theorizing in the comments section. This is built for that kind of, I can't wait till the next thing. And so to try to approach it as a whole piece after the fact is just weird and kind of disconnected, because I don't necessarily have the time to think about it in between the episodes, because it's just playing one right after the other for me. And so I'll just be honest, a lot of the first season completely went over my head, and I had to look up someone's explanation video to see if like the things I thought I was maybe getting made any sense at all. And I guess I was kind of on the right track, but I still felt like I missed a whole hell of a lot. How about you, Ruben?
I'm probably somewhere kind of in between you two. There are some things about it that I really liked, and then also I think maybe if you watch these like one episode a week, I would appreciate it more, because watching all the episodes in a half-hour binge, it felt really repetitive. Like, you know, you get the same little warning note in each video. Like if you don't find a way to release it, then it will come for a piece. You know, you get that same warning in each video, and it felt. I think I would appreciate it more. It's kind of like if you like to read newspaper comics, it's fine to read like, you know, one installment of Garfield or Nancy or whatever a week, but if you read like a whole bunch of it all at once, it's going to get old really quickly. And I feel like it was kind of the same here. But there were some things I really liked about it. I liked that it was almost completely silent. I don't think there's any dialogue, unless I'm forgetting something.
Someone says a couple names and there's some gasps and screams, but yeah, there's no dialogue.
Yeah, there's very dialogue. I think in the episode, The Mistress' Mind, I think she calls out to Daniel a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. I knew that I was thinking maybe someone had said a name, but I like that they are ambitious enough to try that. That would be very difficult to do, and it's a very artsy kind of thing, but also I found myself wishing that there was a little bit of dialogue, because if this was like a real horror, like, I don't want to say real horror movie, but if this was a theatrical horror movie, you would have dialogue to explain what's going on. What is this creature after? What are the rules? How are you able to get away from the creature? Stuff like that. And after a while, I was thinking, like, you know, every single character in this series is dying. I want to see what did they do to screw up? Why are they dying? How can you succeed at beating the creature? Because that's, you know, the horror monster formula. Like, you have the final girl who does something different than all the other victims, and they don't die. So I would love to have seen more of that, and I guess more of an exploration of the mythos. When you get to season 2, it's set in 1930, and I thought, oh, cool, we're going to get to see the origin of this monster, and then the monster is already there in the 1930s. So there's some things I really liked, and you guys are saying, like, you think you understood season 1. I'm probably going to have that explained to me, because I saw that there were connections between episodes of season 1, like the woman who dies in the first episode, her husband was cheating with the woman who dies in the second episode. So I saw that there were connections, but I don't know how. Like, they're at a funeral in one episode, and there was someone who was poisoned, and I don't understand how that all fits together. Mm-hmm. So it definitely all went over my head. but there were some things about it I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am too. I'm like, it's not that I think it's bad, it's just I definitely didn't get it, and it's because I feel I didn't experience it in the way it was initially intended. I feel like you're meant to keep up with the look-see. I don't think you're meant to catch up with the look-see as far as like a series. And now that I've seen it all, I could certainly subscribe to Crypt TV, and I could watch, the episodes for season 3 as they come out, and that'll be all well and good, but like it's a different experience than I think it's meant to be. And so yeah, like the explanation that, like, all right, I want to try to distinguish this between what I thought was going on to what I was told was going on in someone else's video. What I thought was going on in season 1 was that all these people were connected to this, these poisonings that happened at a high school, and the look-see was coming after them for holding on to something related to what made those those poisonings happen. But I thought I didn't understand what they did to result in these deaths, and I also didn't understand what the hell the look-see wanted from them. That was my biggest problem. And then what I had explained to me is, no, it doesn't look like many of the characters have any connection to the poisoning other than just that they attended the funeral, and that what really the look-see is going after them for is they're all holding on to something in their life that they need to let go of in order to move on with their lives. And if they don't let go of it, then he will kill the fuck out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Or take a part of them, yeah. And
you'll take a part that represents, what their problem is.
Yeah, and so, like, I found that kind of interesting, but then the problem I had is in season 2, wherein the one guy who survives the look-see, I have no idea what the fuck he gave up.
See, I don't think that was the situation. They actually intervened in what the look-see was doing. They were 3 thieves that killed the guy he was trying to kill. And it does seem like, I don't know, he didn't they take his watch?
Yeah, but then but they don't give it back.
Mm-hmm.
At least I didn't think I saw him give it back. So I'm just like, I'm really confused because it feels like they want to be building up a lot of lore and intrigue and mystery behind this to get people kind of jazzed and talking about it and doing what the internet does best, which is create, these elaborate scenarios and spider webs of ideas of possible plots and stuff.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it is. But then there's like stuff like that. I'm like, well, what did this guy give up in order for the look-see to stop coming after him? Because
I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think that was besides the point. I mean, that was out of the look-see's modus operendi. Like, this was something that intervened in what he was doing, and like something that surprised him. So as far as like letting go, I mean. He was a murderer. He was like he was an awful person and kind of didn't seem to have any problem with letting go, at least as far as what the look-see was concerned with. I mean, good Lord. I mean, he takes a look at, his friend or brother or whatever that relation was with him, dead, and he immediately tries to stab, and he's not afraid until he realizes, like, I can't even take this thing. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think that was the problem with it. I mean, I don't think that was his problem with. I think he maybe saw someone who was complete in his eyes.
Maybe, I don't
which
know.
is terrible because it's not anything moral.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be honest, that he would go after people. It really didn't matter the morals of what was holding them back. Some people were just in mourning of like a relationship or someone that they lost. Really didn't matter, and he didn't seem to have that issue.
I guess that's fair. I don't know. Like, it feels kind of weak to me, but I guess I see where you're coming from. Ruben, do you have any thoughts on that?
Not so much on season 2, but so season 1, in the very first episode, we see a woman. She has a wedding ring, and she's about to flush it down the toilet, and then the look-see attacks her, cuts off her arm and one arm, I think, and both of her legs, maybe
Breaks them.
Breaks them and cuts off her hand.
Okay. But she flushed the ring down the toilet, and then the look-see attacked her. So that was a confusing moment for me because I was thinking, okay, so she should be the one person in a series who doesn't get attacked. And I was seeing that a lot where like somebody would get the note that would say, if you don't release it, it will come for a piece of you. And immediately after they get the note, the look-see would attack them. And that's kind of like, like a lot of these horror movies will have some kind of rule. Like in The Ring, you watch the movie and then you have, what is it, like 5 days
7
to
days.
show it to 7 days to show it to someone else. And so it would be like if you watch the movie in The Ring and then it's like immediately it's like, okay, you're screwed, you die, you don't have any time to like. And these are short episodes. They're all like 5 minutes long, so they don't have time to build up the suspense and have a character like, getting these notes for a week or whatever. And I get that, but also like I keep coming back to I want to know the rules. I want to know how the look-see operates and why he kills the people he kills. And like I get it, like they all, like you said, they all are holding something back and they're supposed to let go. But then like it seems like the first woman, she does let go and then she still gets attacked.
Mm-hmm. And I think that might be one of the problems with this as an internet series is I'm less than convinced, especially given the way that these were released out of chronological order. I'm less than convinced this was ever really meant to be a series beyond a one-off little monster short, You have this woman who seems to follow the rules, as it were, but gets killed off anyway, and then she gets brought back later on in the series and all this stuff. It feels like they just kind of struck gold with the look-see for their view count and then decided to turn it into a series retroactively. And I'm not, like, saying that's exactly what they did. I'm saying that's what it feels like. It feels like these are all retroactive decisions, and they're doing their best to try to make it work. So that's kind of where I'm landing on it. I'm like, there's really interesting, cool stuff going on here, but some of it feels off. And so I don't necessarily need to know the rules of the look-see. I don't necessarily need like more consistency from it. I'm just saying that I feel like it's a little I don't want to use the word sloppy because that has too many negative connotations, but it is played a little fast and loose. I just have a hard time understanding what's going on because it doesn't seem like there is any consistency, and I'm a little less than convinced that's not just because of the format of release. I feel like a lot of this has to do with the format of release and the desire to drive speculation.
Do you not like the format? Because it seems like you have a problem with it.
No, it's not about not liking it. It's just like I think it's a failing of it, or not necessarily failing. I feel like it's just baggage, if that makes sense. It's something that they're kind of having to deal with, because I feel like I would like this a lot better if I watched it as it was coming out and I got to experience the fan theorization kind of stuff, because they're so marketing it for that. Like, what would you give up to avoid the look-see is at the end of one of the episodes and stuff like that. And so it's really what they're going for, and I do think that's really cool, and it's kind of inspired to do with horror, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's like, it's really cool that you can engage with the audience in that way, and horror seems to lend itself better for that than other things would. But at the same time, just parts of it feel a little iffy to me because they're having to deal with restrictions in this format of not necessarily knowing that this was going to get super popular and that they're going to have to build a mythos out of it. Do you feel like this maybe was a little retroactive, especially with the less than chronological release, or do you think that they had this plan to begin with?
I don't think so, and to be honest, I don't think it matters. Okay. I really do like the interactive quality of it, like stop the projector and discuss the film with the rest of the class kind of endings. I like the fact that we mostly have a puzzle and we mostly have a story that we can put together, and of course it requires like repeat viewings, which to me fun. I mean, that's what it's, that's what this crap is kind of should be about. And it, because it's mostly told through visual storytelling, it really requires you to pay attention. Like after you get through like jump scares and creepy stuff, to go back and like figure out, okay, why is this person connected to this person, and what's going on. I kind of like the serialized method. This is, after all, kind of like maybe just a modern internet equivalent to like serial stories, like film serials or Pickwick Papers. When you get like a chapter a month and stuff like that. And some of that, and a lot of that stuff does. I mean, in the way you're thinking this came about, a lot of that stuff comes out just like the need to like put something out, and then it kind of like informs itself and kind of like takes on a life of its own, even if there is inconsistencies along the way. I'm not sure that's the case here, but I mean, I'm not like saying it ain't.
And that's my thing too. I don't want to like say that, oh, clearly they didn't have this planned out. They may have. I just didn't necessarily get that impression. The impression I got felt like they were kind of having to spin things out as they went. And so it's not that that makes it bad or anything. It makes it feel a little weirder. And so if the drive is to figure out how it works, if the drive is to theorize about it, then it's not necessarily a problem, but it's baggage that comes with it, and I think it all comes down to the format of release then. Because if this were a movie that came out or something, you would just have a more rounded, more thought-out, complete release.
Correct. If this was a TV series or a film, they would definitely have to elaborate, maybe... what Ruben was just saying, like, how they get the note and they're instantly attacked. Like, maybe, if this was a film or a TV series, they would get the note and that would just sit there with them for a while. Like, what do I have to give up? What's my problem? And that would kind of cause a bit of tension, where maybe the creature would like, slowly enter its life, a little bit like the Babadook, for that case. But in this, I do like, the way they're able to use this format, and the way they're able to use these like 3 to 6 minute little chapters.
Yeah, that part of it I really do like. I really do like the 3 to 6 minute chapter. When I talk about the problems with the format, I'm talking more about the fact that it feels like it's very current. Like, season 2 is weird to look at, and it's funny because I feel like we've mostly just been talking about season 1. Season 2 is weird to look at because that's something I feel was all written from the get-go. And even though it's inconsistent in some ways with season 1, I feel that is a much more complete story than season 1 is. But I feel where season 1 seems to be where most of the intrigue around the monster resides. So yeah, like when I talk about I feel like the format has baggage. It's not about like it's not cool to see 3 to 6 minutes of horror. It's not cool to see this visual storytelling, and I really do love that stuff. I agree completely that you have to just pay a lot of attention and try to figure it all out. And I wish I did have time to watch this, at least the first season, twice, because I was really impressed with a lot of the visual cues, like how you just see the mistress character and I'm like, oh shit, that's her, and oh yeah, that's the woman from the first episode again. Oh, that's so cool. Mm-hmm. I really like how that all built up and worked together. I'm just talking more about the way that like it plays logically.
Yeah, I also like the speed of how it tells a story. It literally wastes no time.
It can't afford to.
Yeah, it can't. I mean, yeah, it's out of necessity, but boy, does it with such speed. It tells like the chapter with the 13 dead kids, where you see the kid fall, and then like really instantly he gets covered in that sheet, and then we cut right to like right afterwards. With them all covered, and then we shoot right to his presumably his mother, who is a cop, like checking out, kind of cleaning up the last remains and the crime scene and picking up like the numbers, and she stops at number 4, and number 4 is her son. Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like she should be allowed to work that case. Just
that's like
that's
I wouldn't have given her that. Like, hey, clean up your own son's death.
It's a small town. We don't have that many cops.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. That's a good point. So I don't know. There's that. Some of the stuff I find to be kind of cool and mysterious, and I just love the way that it all kind of comes together. And so like with how it reverses expectations and stuff. So you got like that weird bald dude in that 4th episode.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about him.
Yeah, so. The theory seems to be that he had at some point previously survived the Look-See's test and was now recruited and serving him, but then just couldn't go through with it and saved the woman, which cost him dearly. And then the Look-See recruited the other survivor that we see, which is the woman in the bathroom. The name escapes me at the moment. And then so the episode where she's in the hospital is her initiation into serving the Look-See. And so you got that moment at the end of one of the other episodes where she's like writing out all the warnings on the pieces of paper, and she's going to be serving them to people and stuff. And so that side of things is like, oh, well, holy shit.
Yeah. This is kind of like, I don't presume to know how they're going to go about the rest of the series or what their plans are, but it does feel like the first season, whether it was put together on the fly as they were doing it or not, it did seem to be sort of like an introduction or maybe a light origin of like, okay, this is an explanation basically of what this thing is. And, future installments will play up or play against, what we're kind of setting up here. That's kind of how I took it, especially since I watched the second season right afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're a good way into the episode here, so I feel like we've been, almost exclusively talking about season 1, so I think this would probably be a good time to transition and start talking about season 2. So I will say I definitely like season 2 a lot more. I felt more in the loop. I felt like it was a more completed piece. I already said that. I just felt like it worked a lot better. Like they definitely had a direction that they were going for in that season, and it didn't feel like it was trying to catch up with its popularity.
Hey, Ruben, you said you wanted to say something earlier. Well, kind of got away from that.
We were talking about the guy, and then Ian answered.
I'm sorry.
No, you answered my questions because I was very curious about how he fit into it, and you have explained it. But that's a good transition into season 2 because we have the youngest daughter of this family. Everyone in the family dies, and a couple of the thieves die, but she survives. So I'm curious if she is somehow the Renfield equivalent here, just like the guy was in season 1.
It's possible, and it does feel like she was kind of chosen, or she made some sort of connection in the woods very early on. And I really appreciated the fact that season 2 doesn't try to repeat the same story telling. What to say? I mean, it's like a period piece. It's like a more linear story. I like the fact that it mixed it up like that by not mixing it up.
Yeah, I like that it's just very it's still dealing with the Looksee just doing his thing apparently, but it's in a completely different setting, it's a completely different set of circumstances. That is a really good choice. As far as the girl goes, I don't know, it's interesting because I feel like everyone in the family is definitely longing for a life they no longer have. We see like the guy's brother commit suicide, and obviously they're in financial ruin, and this dusty old farmhouse seems to be all that they have left, and yet the mother's like clinging to her status symbols of high society, the fur shawl and the pearl necklace and all that stuff. It looks like they lost a child, a sibling, and the implication's pretty damn creepy that the Looksee is cool with the girl in the family because she's the only one that doesn't feel sad about losing all the money or losing the family member.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucked.
That's what's interesting. That's what I was talking about earlier. It doesn't seem like it has any kind of like moral ramification on who it chooses to spare or not. It's more about, you know, who's moving on. Like, it doesn't matter. Like what kind of person they are.
So Looksee would just like have no ammo against like a sociopath then, which is, I guess, what the girl is, right? And
I would imagine so.
Yeah, and it's weird because, especially with, you know, not to skip right to the end, but to totally skip right to the end with how fucking season 2 ends with the two hands coming out of the pocket watch. Just like, holy shit, there's another one?
The pocket watch wasn't in season 1, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, okay. See, that's interesting. I was thinking it was, and I was trying to remember. It would be really interesting to see season 3. This kind of reminds me of, and these are 2 shows I have not watched, but I've heard about them. It reminds me of how Fargo, the TV series, is like, you know, season 1 is its own thing, and then season 2 is set like 30 years earlier, and it, like each season, and I think American Horror Story does that too, I think. So it's like each season is a different thing, but then there's still connections, and it'll be really interesting to see, like, what if season 3 has the little girl from the 1930s, but she's now an old woman, and she's somehow connected to what was going on in season 1. Like, it'd be really interesting to see if they want to bring some more connections to these seasons as they keep going.
Yeah, because I believe both are taking place in the same town or same area. I think they're called Harbor.
No, are they?
If I'm not mistaken.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, Lindsay caught that when we were watching.
Oh, see, really good detail work right there.
Yeah. I can't remember if it's called Harbor or not. But
yeah, I think the town's called Harbor. Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the same town. So yeah, there's your connections right there. It's at least hanging out in the same place.
So it's like the Demon of Harbor or some shit. So I do like season 2 a lot more. I do feel like it's a much more complete story, but I will say it does seem to just take a detour in the thieves. Like, I like season 2 a lot more. The story regarding the thieves seems to be the strangest thing that I find myself dwelling on and trying to think about and comprehend why it's there and what it has to do with anything. Because maybe I need to pull up the episode again, the Two Thieves or whatever it is, and look at what happens with that damn pocket watch, because I feel like they didn't give it back, but then it's back at the house in a later episode, so maybe I missed it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it too. I only watched the second season once, mainly because it was a little easier to understand. The first season I have to kind of decipher and kind of put together. The second one was pretty straightforward. I wonder if there's any kind of connection to the fact that the thief episode is called, what is it, The Second Thief?
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth episode, where the second creature shows up, is called The Second Hands.
And I was thinking, I bet this was intentional. I was thinking that was referring to the clock.
Well, actually, every episode in the second season, the first episode's called The Second Home, the second episode's called The Second Thief, the third episode's called The Second Love, and the fourth episode's called The Second Hands.
Okay.
Oh, it's Second Hands like a watch, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was referring to, and I just now was like, oh yeah, and also a second pair of hands. Okay, I'm an idiot.
Comes out. Yeah, I know. Well, I love that kind of. I love double meanings on titles, and especially with the case of The Second Hands, where it's the last image in that episode, and you're going, oh, yeah, The Second Hands, okay. I kind of like that crap.
Yeah, I really like that. Well, especially when it's something like an hour later is whenever I figure it out. Like, oh, okay. Always makes it feel really clever for me.
Okay, so the last shot in The Second Thief is really hard to decipher. So what happens is the look-see has the second thief by the neck, is holding him up in the air, okay?
Yeah.
And then suddenly there's a shot of the man that he killed, and the shot of the guy's face, and the shot of the look-see, and the look-see kind of almost drops its smile a little bit, sets the guy down, and puts its arm down. The guy kind of walks away, understanding that he's been freed, and then the camera pans back, and the look-see's gone. And then the very last shot shows the pocket watch in the grass, and a hand just comes in real quick and takes it, and I can't even tell if it's the look-see hand or if it's the guy's hand, but I will say there's no glove. So I think what I thought was the guy taking the pocket watch, I think it's supposed to be the little girl.
Oh yeah.
That's my theory. And see, this is the fun part. This is what they want you to be doing. They want you to be thinking about this shit. I'm actually going to redact some of my complaint there. I thought that the Second Thief episode was a really weird detour, and it didn't make a lot of sense, especially because the guy kept the pocket watch. After that, I think the implication is it was the girl taking the pocket watch back, and I think you were right earlier, Manos, that the only reason the look-see was after them is because they took his watch.
Yeah.
So that does it kind of makes my one thing that I had against season 2 and maybe against the concept work a little bit better. I'll give you that. Though, to be fair, the Second Thief episode has my favorite shot in the entire series.
Is it the smiling dead guy at the beginning?
No, it's when the guy has run out of the tent. The first thief has run out of the tent away from the look-see, and he sees it just standing there, and he kind of backs up, and it slightly gets. He just like takes a slight step to the left, and then back, and like the look-see kind of disappears behind a tree, and then when he steps back, suddenly it's just its whole body just comes out from behind the tree. I fucking adored that. That is absolutely terrifying bullshit right there.
I loved when the father is going into the barn and you see his hand like come over the door. And let's see, I watched episode 1 of season 2 twice, and let's see, Lindsay caught that the second time. And I love that kind of crap. I love that kind of stuff in horror when, there's something creepy there, and you don't see it the first time, and then you see the film again, and then it's right there.
Yeah, it's just there in the background. That shit. Yeah. Because
there's something cool in Death Proof where I didn't notice the scene in the diner where the stunt women and actresses are talking, and I didn't notice until the second time I saw Death Proof that Stuntman Mike is literally at the bar listening to them talking.
Holy shit! I've never noticed that.
Oh, he is.
Oh, he
man. Is. I didn't notice that until I've seen the film a few times, and I didn't.
No, Manos, you there? Manos, Ruben?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, we've lost Manos. Manos. Yes, you're back.
Okay, good. Anyway, yeah, I didn't notice until I saw Death Proof the second time when they're talking and they're having that conversation. The camera's going back and forth. Yeah, he's sitting at the bar, and there's one shot of him looking behind, like he's listening, and the women aren't noticing because they're in their conversation. They don't know him, but we know him.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm gonna have to go rewatch Death Proof again. Then, damn.
Yeah.
My favorite part, my favorite shot, you guys were saying yours was and I really like what you guys said, but I really like, I think it's the last episode of season 2 when the older son, he sees the mom kneeling, and he kind of goes up behind her, and she's got the fur coat and there's blood all over it, and she's got this really, really creepy smile that the son can't see, and she's trying to look behind her while still facing front. That was so creepy, but I loved it.
Yeah, that really did creep me out quite a bit. Where it would take their forms. The first time around, it was taking form of the father, waving to the wife, and then after it killed her, it did the same thing to the kid. And boy, that sitting in the corner. I've seen that in a couple other movies, and you know what? I do really get creeped out when a character is just sitting in the corner.
Just face in the wall.
Face of the wall. Nothing good happens.
Yeah.
That's right. There should just be a rule, hey, you, over in the corner, turn around, talk to me, use your voice. I don't like where this is going.
I have a personal rule. If I see somebody, even a loved one, just looking in the corner silently, doing nothing, getting the fuck out.
See,
I don't know. I don't care who it is.
I'm debating what to do for Halloween, and I think I'm gonna put on a skull mask, straight jacket, and an orange jumpsuit, so I look like a escaped, horribly scarred, disfigured mental patient. And I think I'm just gonna stand in my little front porch area, just in the corner with a bag for candy. I'm just gonna keep walking into the corner when someone comes up and see if they have the balls to ring the doorbell at that point. That's my plan at the moment.
Yeah. What you should do is you should be in the corner. You should have the candy just right, near you, with maybe a little sign, come get it.
Oh man, it'd be a good one. I'm debating what to do with it. I'm definitely thinking about something. But the problem is, this has nothing to do with the look-see, so we won't dwell on this for too long, but I'll talk about it anyway. The problem with doing creepy shit on Halloween is it's really fun until you get the one really little kid who's too scared to come up, and then you feel like a dick. Because you want to scare kids, but you don't want to traumatize them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to ruin them.
Yeah, you don't want to ruin Halloween for a kid. So it's just, you got to find that balance, and that's the really hard part.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so the second season, the way that it develops and just some of the imagery it uses, I feel is really, really strong. Not only does the storytelling get better, just the visuals get better. So it's visual storytelling, and the visuals of the visual storytelling get just increasingly better. Like, the episode that opens with the reverse of the bleeding teddy bear and then it just getting snatched the fuck up from the top of the frame is really, really good imagery. And then how that episode, like, toward the end, when the guy, like, realizes what he has to do and rips the head off the teddy bear, but because he doesn't throw both parts away, it's not genuine enough. Oh, that is such a haunting image. The idea of trying to rip a teddy bear's head off. Talk about a ticking clock, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I really like a lot of the visuals in season 2 quite a bit, which is saying something, because I was legitimately worried that season 2 was not going to be, or was going to be a drop off in quality, given that the first couple shots have to do a lot with what very obviously is very little. They don't do much to try to convince you this is New York in the 30s.
What? That totally looked like it.
Yeah, you say so.
Yeah.
Well, and fortunately, they didn't, like, I think this was, like, really smart writing where, you know, this is a family that's on the run because of the dad and his brother and their bad finances. So they're not in New York City, but they're somewhere in New York State. And I was fine with that. I've never been to New York State, so I don't know what it looks like now. But I was okay with them just saying, hey, this forest here, this is New York in the 30s. Like, I didn't have to, like, you know, with this being in, like, it's a bigger studio than, like, what I was at first thinking, but it's still a small studio for, like, movie terms. So I think that they were using what they had, and I thought that worked.
I mean, that's the beauty of period pieces. Trees and landscapes haven't changed.
True. Yeah.
Yep.
So you can get away with stuff like that on a budget, and it works quite well. But they do have to. I don't know. Like, I will say the whole opening with, like, the brother killing people and whatnot, and then himself. I don't really feel like that's necessary. I feel you could have just opened with the shot of the family walking through the fucking woods, and not, like, you could have just opened the season with, like, you know, chainsaw bank collapses. It's the 1930s. It's the Depression. Just show a newspaper cover and that we kind of got anyway, and I think it would have been fine. I didn't think you needed that scene.
True. Although I do like the fact that after he kills himself, his blood splatters, and it only splatters on his picture, and and then it, like, slowly cuts to the living brother, and then we cut to the living brother and his situation, escaping the whole crisis.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, it worked plenty, but I feel like they're probably overextending themselves more than they needed to. You know, Manos, you and I do the fan film reviews all the time, and that's always, you know, working within the limitations, not doing what you don't have to do, is always good advice for stuff like this, and so, yeah.
But I always, well, to be honest, I do take, I do understand when, you know, somebody has a limited budget, and I'm very forgiving. Mm-hmm. If you're telling a captivating story, if your budget's limited, I can forgive you. Like, if you had a $2 million budget and then your city looks like that, yeah, then I'll be kind of busting on you. But I don't know. It kind of fit into, like, it was very quickly done, and it also has this kind of, like, stylized look, which is a good way to kind of get around the fact that, well, we can't really CG this building too effectively. So I thought that was fine.
Yeah, no, it didn't bother me much. It's just something I definitely did notice and think of, and it's what becomes obvious about it is it's not that they don't have a budget; it's that they put their budget to more effective uses in the series as a whole, and didn't really spend too much time on the intro. And I'm totally fine with that decision. I think it was the right call to make. Some of the other really cool visuals in season 2 that just that shit sticks with me, and I just really liked was, like, the guy just covered in blood. That's a thing that it should always be comical, and when it isn't, it's great. Like, I should never think of anything else besides Dracula Dead and Loving It and that dude just getting fucking drenched in vampire blood. I should never be able to think of anything else when I see someone covered in blood, and when I'm not thinking of that and it's on screen, I always really appreciate it, because that dude is just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's a Carrie level of being covered in blood.
Right. So I really did like that. That was pretty good. Okay, we're getting closer to the end here, so I did want to make sure I brought up one other thing. Does the name The Look-See mean got a goddamn thing?
Not that I know of.
No?
No, at least not yet. Hey, let's look and see what the monster's doing this week. I don't know.
Do you guys think that we'll get an origin for the monster eventually?
I don't want there to be, but if it tied into why it's called what it's called, I guess that would make sense. It's just, I don't know, it's a cool name and it works. It's just like, it doesn't really look at things. It mainly just goes straight to attack. It feels like half the time after the person reads a note from the thing, it's there ready to kill your ass.
I suppose the only thing I've been really able to piece together on that is even though it has no eyes, it can look and see into your soul.
Okay.
That makes sense.
10 points for Gryffindor. I'll give you that. Okay. As far as more origin stuff goes, I don't know, because I was like you, Ruben. I was expecting season 2 to be an origin for the monster, and then when it's already there, like within the first 2 minutes of the episode, I was like, oh, okay, I guess not. I don't know, Manos, what do you think? Do you want to look-see origin?
I suppose so. We don't need a whole... there's a couple ways they could go about it, depending on what their origin is. Even if they, it's possible they don't even have an origin. Like, I'll be honest with horror. I do like mystery. I like, even when I know things, like let's say they do an origin, I would still like some gaps in the story. Like I need my imagination to be kind of like tricked into thinking something that may or may not be real. I don't know. That's the way I tend to like horror. So I guess I'm a roundabout way saying maybe.
Okay. For me, I don't know. Like I'm kind of with you, Manos, where I like some of the mystery and intrigue stuff with horror, but I feel like the whole point of this character is to do theorizing about it, and it is to get kind of wrapped up in the lore. So I think it's fair to say that. That it'd be if anything, it's one of the few monsters that really should have an origin. So I'll give it that. All right, I do want to talk about one other thing that I think Ruben kind of touched on early on in the episode, and I wanted to get into. Given that these are so short and you're watching them kind of like back to back to back, does it get like I feel like it effectively communicates high levels of tension, and it is just naturally scary and gives you kind of anxiety. Does that wear off for you the more you watch it when it's pretty much just all the jump scare, right?
I didn't feel like the tension dwindled at any point. And I think the series does a really good job at maintaining it. We talked a little bit about the effective use storytelling within the time frame of what's allotted, and considering also the fact that each episode has the situation kind of different. Obviously the first season, but with the second season, we definitely go into different like situations and scenarios with the different characters. So it's able to maintain its tension as to like what the creature's up to. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like it really lost anything, and I watched it like all at once.
Okay, Ruben, how about you?
I don't think the fear aspect. I don't think there was any moment where I was like just terrified watching this. And I'm like a weird kind of like. On the one hand, I don't want to be scared. Like, I want to be just comfortable watching whatever I'm watching. But on the other hand, like, if I watch a horror movie, I kind of want it to scare me too. But I wasn't just like, peeing my pants or anything. But I think for me, it wasn't so much that the fear was wearing off. It was more that, like, by the time you get to the, like, end of season 1, you kind of, it's a pattern. It's a formula. It's not that it's anything is wearing off. It's that you're starting to kind of see like, okay, here's what's going to happen next. But I don't think it has anything to do with like how scary it is.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I definitely did feel that way at a certain point, and it kind of rose and fell and rose again, because by the end of season 1, I was like, all right, yeah, I'm not on the edge of my seat. I'm not tensing for the jump anymore. But season 2 has enough of a change up where, like, the look-see's there the whole time in episodes. Like, it's one of the, like, can we all agree that the look-see gets more screen time than probably every other movie monster ever? Like, it gets a lot of screen time by the time you get into season 2. As far as like proportion of the episode, even if it's not in its full form, it's getting a lot of screen time and getting to do a lot of creepy shit on screen, which I fucking love. By the way, I hate a lot of horror that I feel like they just don't have the budget to put into a cool monster design, and so they just lean on the whole Jaws thing of, oh, we're only going to show it when we have to in order to build tension. I feel like they lean on that more as a crutch than as a tool that it actually should be. This does effectively build tension and show you a lot of the monster, but I do think that it loses a bit of it throughout in season 1 and has to rely more on the whole mystery and intrigue thing to sell the episodes as opposed to the tension and horror. But I think it balances them out and delivers it quite well by the time you get to season 2.
Yeah, I think that's the really smart thing about season 2 is that they didn't. I think I already actually said this, but I'll just repeat. Like, I think it was really wise to not try and repeat what they did for season 1 or continue the through line on that. And it presented us with a different situation, a different type of story that they were telling, to kind of change things up. So, maybe you're already used to the creature or, what its habits are, but now you're maybe more drawn into the story, which I think a lot of horror sequels, the more successful ones, take that lesson, and then some others don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, just generally speaking, I really like the premise behind the monster, because I feel like a lot of people, or not just a lot of people, I feel everyone deals with regret. Everyone deals with, dwelling on something, and often to unhealthy degrees at different points in their life. And so I like the idea of the monster as metaphor. I like the idea of creating a monster that's all about regret and not letting that control your life, because if you do, it might as well end your life in 5 minutes or 50 years. It doesn't matter. It's going to do it. So I do like the idea, the premise behind the monster in that degree too.
Also, the regret is relatable regret. It could be anyone. It's not like regretting like killing a bunch of people or doing something terrible that brought brought this creature to you. I mean, it can be just simply, mourning a relationship is enough to bring it into your life, and that is kind of scary because, well, I mean, we've all experienced regret and loss and holding on to things.
Yeah, I agree. So I really, really do like that. That side of it works absolutely fantastically. Horror has gotten a lot smarter over the last couple of years, or I've gotten smart enough to notice it. No, it's gotten smarter. I watched Child's Play recently. There's a smart movie in there somewhere, but then it's buried under all the 80s dumbass.
Yeah, it's a copy of Rosemary's Baby that's in a scene.
Yeah. Ouch. Damn.
I'm not a fan of the Child's Play either, so.
I mean, I enjoy it in the same way that I enjoy generally horror. But yeah, no, it's not good. But there's something legitimately cool about the first Child's Play movie. But this isn't a review about Child's Play. It just gets buried by the lack of class that the 80s had, the lack of subtlety of the 80s. Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap up on the look-see. It'll be a shorter episode, but that's okay because we'll have another full-length episode out later this week. Let's go ahead and wrap on the look-see and give a rating. Do we want to do 2 ratings for each season, or do we want to rate the 2 as a whole?
Oh, that's a good idea. I don't mind rating each season.
Okay. I'll go first then. For me, season 1, I'm going to give 3 out of 5 mistresses that are a bit of a downgrade. For season 2, I'll give 4 out of 5 look-sees popping out of a tree. And yeah. How about you, Ruben?
Season 1, I will give 4 out of 5 poison children. And season 2, I will give. See, it's weird because I think they're both good seasons, but in very different ways. So I'm gonna give season 2 also 4 out of 5 stabbed fathers in the barn.
I liked both seasons. Obviously, I think they're really inventive. I think they did a wonderful job kind of creating a iconic like creature without seeming too repetitive or chasing a trend or anything like that. There does seem to be some obvious influences, but boy, they really do feel like they created something on their own out of those influences. So, I like the whole method of putting together a season, and the first way of the first season as they used to explain the creature. So I would definitely give that 4 out of 5 toilet rings. Season 2, I'm very impressed with the fact that they decided to like go and tell a different type of story instead of just trying to repeat the same thing they were doing. And it ended up, I think, developing like the creature in really interesting ways. So I would also give that 4 out of 5 corner moms.
All right, and just to fill a couple more minutes here, let's talk about what kind of impression this makes for you on the YouTube channel Crypt TV. So let's just go around robin real quick. Does this make you want to subscribe?
Yeah.
For me, probably not, and it partly because I don't subscribe to a whole, like, I hardly ever watch YouTube anymore, and also I would probably be more likely to check back in 6 months and see if season 3 is complete, and then just watch all of season 3 all at once, and instead of like keeping up week to week.
And you don't have any of their interests in their other original shorts?
I actually hadn't even looked to see what else they did.
They got a bunch. Like, I saw someone had like done a ranking of their original monsters. They've got so many.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
there was a monster face of this, I don't know, this tree creature person that kept appearing like at the, I can't remember, I think it was the season 2.
At the end of the episodes and stuff.
Yeah. And that creature looked like something out of a Del Toro film, and Lindsay said it reminded her of Mike Mignola's work because of the teeth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm interested in watching that film and going back, which is a short film on their channel. So I don't know, when I get some time, I'll probably check it out. So yeah, I'm interested in subscribing to it.
Yeah, I think so too. What I like about them, it's 3 shorts a week kind of thing. That's kind of cool, so that I don't feel like I'm gonna get a subscription flooded with it. And it's kind of regular horror content, and I like regular horror content. It's nice. So yeah, I will be subscribing to this. I'm definitely curious to see other stuff. There was another, like, when this got requested for us to talk about something related to Crypt TV, I was like, oh, okay, what are we gonna do? And I started looking through their playlist, and I was like, oh wow, they've legitimately got shows. They've got, I think, 2 or 3 monsters that have 2 seasons of content. So I definitely want to check out one of their others. I think one was like Dark something. It was like a demon woman or some shit like that. That sounded cool too. So I'm gonna have to check out some more of their stuff. I'm not gonna promise to watch like every video, but they've definitely got me intrigued. I think it's a cool idea to do something like this as a original, proper horror content that's not just some kid in their room.
Correct. Yeah. I definitely was impressed, and I definitely want to say I want my Crypt TV. Is that too old of a reference?
I want my Crypt TV.
That's great.
Oh man. They have a Purge? I think they've got a Purge series. They might even do fan content. Hey Manos. Stoneheart.
Hey.
Stoneheart was like the demon looking lady I was kind of interested in. So yeah, I don't know. Insidious, isn't that like property already too? I guess they do some fan content too. Interesting.
Cool. Well, that makes sense.
All right, that'll do it then for this episode of Geeky Gentlemen. Everyone, thank you very much for watching this year's installments of Geeky Gentlemen Horror Month. We, of course, have one episode posted every year on Halloween. It is a discussion episode, the only discussion we do for the month of October. And this year, I've been mulling over what to discuss, and I think what would be fun is to debate about the best medium for horror. Whether that be film, comics, books, what have you. So yeah, it's interesting. We talked about the medium that the Look-See was presented in tonight. So it'll be interesting to see where we come down on that as we discuss it, because I have strongly held opinions.
Definitely rap music.
Yep, rap music horror. Werewolf, bar mitzvah, spooky, scary, oh so hairy.
Yeah, screw you, Harvard novels. It's rap music.
Yep. All right, everyone, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the philosopher.
I'm the realist.
And I'm the Comics Kid 2099.
And we are your ghouly gentlemen, and we will be discussing things from beyond the grave.